Good evening. Welcome to the June 10th, 2025 meeting of the Salina Public Schools Board of Education. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are a few changes needed on our agenda this evening. First, on action item 7A, there was an amendment sent via email to board members and provided at the back table to the related services salary schedule. And then both executive sessions 11A and B for student matters and personnel respectively both can be removed from our agenda as well.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Thanks. And Dana seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Now on to recognitions and presentations with You Make a Difference Awards and Olivia Opat.
Tonight, we just have one You Make a Difference Award to recognize. You Make a Difference Awards are delivered to staff members for their support of students and the mission of Salina Public Schools. Board members surprise the recipients with a lapel pin and a handwritten note during their workday. Bree Franklin, EBD support staff at Meadowlark Ridge Elementary. Bree is patient, kind, and accepts students as they are while still encouraging them to work hard to become the best they can be. The connection she makes with the students helps them find calm in the midst of challenge. Thank you, Bree, for making a difference.
And next, we're going to recognize our Rising Educators class and Aaron Wright.
And Dr. Tiffany Snyder.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm just here to remind you a little background of how we started this Rising Educator program. Last year, the Salina Education Foundation was gracious enough to provide us with funds for the benefit of retention and recruitment of highly qualified teachers. We are using those funds this year with our inaugural class of Rising Educators. The goal is to attract educators who are still in process, still in school, future educators, who are not necessarily from or tied to the Salina district in any particular way, to come in and sort of be involved and immersed in a educator boot camp prior to the start of their student teaching. So they have joined us. They are living together. They are working together. They are attending staff development and working with our students at summer school as instructional assistants. And we are also making efforts to introduce them to the Salina community and all that we have to offer. So tonight, Dr. Snyder is going to come and tell you a little bit more about them and introduce you to them.
As Ms. Wright said, we have 5 phenomenal young ladies here with us tonight, and I can't say enough great things about them. I met them at Kansas Wesleyan last Monday to, make sure they got settled okay, and immediately they just got to work and got busy. And so they are working and helping with summer school in the mornings, and they are attending, like Ms. Wright said, PD. They're helping with some youth camps in the community, and on Friday they are going to volunteer at the Smoky Hill River Festival as well. And then I'm trying to get them, take them to a few different places downtown through the month of June while they're here as well. They happen to all be elementary education majors. One of them is getting a minor in math as well. And so as I introduce them, ladies, if you just want to come up here as I introduce your name, I'll tell you which university they're attending and where they are coming from. And the first young lady, I'm going to say her last name and then I'm going to let her finish it, is Maida. And Maida, go ahead and tell me your full last name. Okay. She is attending Bethel University. She's from Brazil, and again, her major is elementary education. The next participant is Madigan Kobiski. She's attending Emporia State University, and she is from Abilene, Kansas. Lindsay Young is attending Bethel University and is from Gas City, Indiana. Elementary education with a minor in math. Sorry. Thank you. No? Audra Langley, happy birthday to her. It's her birthday today. She is attending, there's a mistake on there, Emporia State University, and she's from Hugoton, Kansas. And yes. And Laura Miller, Fort Hays State University, and she is currently living in Salina, Kansas, and her major, again, is elementary ed as well. So again, want to welcome these ladies. They're doing phenomenal work. They taught their first lesson, was it yesterday? At Kids Creative Corner downtown with some of our youth at a camp there, and they were showing me pictures of the planets that they had that kids make. So they're doing great and working very well together, and we're so happy to have them.
Would the board be willing to indulge me in a photo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that all right if I?
Please.
You guys can come down.
Are we going to go in front or back here?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Welcome to all of you to Salina for the summer. We're excited to have you, and I hope you enjoy being here like we know you will. So, and thank you, Mr. Wright and Dr. Snyder, for your work in putting that program together. What a great introduction to new educators to our community, and we love getting connected with you all early. So, next item on our agenda, item 5, approval of the consent agenda items. Those items this evening are the minutes of the May 13th, 2025 regular meeting, the personnel report, the financial reports, including the May bills list, the April treasurer's report, April investment report, and April journal entries. Approval of the following encumbrance listings. First, to Dell for replacement parts for Chromebooks in the amount of $53,838.40. Several license renewals. The first to Frontline Technology in the amount of $148,109.83. Curriculum Associates, Inc. in the amount of $205,111 for iReady. To Imagine Learning in the amount of $49,150. To Character Strong in the amount of $61,180.80. And to the Kansas Educational Technology Consortium for the WebKids IEP software in the amount of $25,330.87. To Walker Bookstore for the purchase of student consumables for illustrative math in the amount of $24,309.99. To Savis for the purchase of additional classroom copy textbooks in the amount of $31,784.40. To Scholastic Education for the purchase of eager reader take-home books for grades pre-K through second grade in the amount of $74,982.12. To Southeast Kansas Education for specialized learning services in the amount of $24,000. To Lakeshore in the amount of $27,759.78 for the purchase of preschool classroom furniture and educational materials for the new preschool classroom at Cottonwood Elementary School. To BSN Sports in the amount of $50,620 for the purchase of racks and benches for the South High weight room. To Johnson Controls in the amount of $40,467.25 for the electronic entry service contract. To ROI Energy in the amount of $424,138 for the purchase and installation of LED lighting fixtures for South High and South Middle. To F&A Food Sales, Inc. in the amount of $2,015,000 for the projected Food and non-food supplies for the 2025-2026 school year. To Highland Dairy Foods in the amount of $342,000 for the projected expense for milk for the 2025-2026 school year. To Accurate Companies in the amount of $38,000 for the projected total expense for chemicals for the Food and Nutritional Services Department for the 2025-2026 school year. To Swenson Meat Processing in the amount of $62,000 for the purchase of ground beef for the 2025-2026 school year. To Paul's Enterprises for food service projected equipment repairs for the 2025-2020 school year. And finally, our annual insurance renewal in the amount of $1,395,133. Approval of a CKCIE contract with Presence Learning. Approval of the 2025-2026 meal program prices. Approval of a gift from Emmanuel Foursquare Church for unpaid meal charges in the amount of $25,000. And approval of the food service program agreement. Is there a motion to approve those items?
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the amount of meals that haven't been paid for this year, for last year? Is that a big amount, or?
Yes, I think I just sent those off to collections this week, and it was a little over 95,000.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, second.
Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Now on to item 6, public forum, and we did have one person register. Keely Denning is here to speak to the board. Keely, I'm just going to read a little statement real fast. I know that you've already read the guidelines for citizens' public participation. At this time, we'll have our public forum. I would like to read the guidelines for you again and for the public. Public forum is a non-action item on the agenda. The board appreciates patrons taking time to share with us about their thoughts and concerns. Public forum is a time for comment on non-agenda items. Comment on agenda items may be allowed later in the meeting. This is not an appropriate time or place for patrons to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or student. Persons making comments which violate the privacy rights of district employees and students will be asked to stop speaking or cease their remarks. If a patron or parent has a concern with one or more employees, the board will refer that person to the appropriate supervisor or to the superintendent for further review. Please understand that this is not the board's practice to respond to public forum comments or questions. And we do allow comment for 3 minutes. Thank you.
I hope I can do this in 3 minutes. First of all, I want to say we had an amazing year of graduates this year. I really would like to congratulate all the graduates for this year. My granddaughter is one. My granddaughter carries a 3.8 grade average. A couple of years ago, the chief of our tribe came up to Salina and awarded her her eagle feather, which is a high status to get. His request was that she wear this upon graduation, upon her cap. 2 weeks before graduation, I was informed that nothing is allowed on the caps of the graduates. It says appropriate dress, clothes, and dress shoes for this formal occasion is expected of clothing to be worn to church or a wedding is considered appropriate. Caps and gowns may not be embellished or decorated. Only seniors with appropriate graduation regalia will be allowed to participate in the commencement. I found this out 2 weeks before that graduation, so I had no way to say, wait a minute. Article 53, exercise of First Amendment rights, Kansas Statute 60-5321B, prohibits any state agency or municipality, including school districts, from prohibiting an individual from wearing traditional tribal regalia or objects of cultural significance at public events, including public graduation ceremonies. Now, I did call around to the schools. I got passed around. No one knew of this statute that was signed in 2021. I called the Board of Education and got the runaround. My granddaughter didn't wear her eagle feather. She also didn't wear her sash that her tribe sent her, a sash that went underneath her senior sash from her school. Now, this can't be erased, but I think the rules, dress code for graduation needs to be written a little bit better, because she was not the only Native student this year. There was another Native student who had his eagle feather in his hair, when it's supposed to be worn on the cap with the tassel, and then when it's turned, they're turned together. So this is something I think the board needs to be aware of. Schools need to be aware of this, because this law was violated this year. And that's all. Thank you much. Oh, and I've got more grandkids coming up for graduation. So I will be checking on this.
Thank you so much, Keely, for taking the time to visit with us tonight. We always encourage and value input from the community and USD 305 patrons. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts tonight. Next item on our agenda is the action agenda. And first up, 7A, 2025-2026 salary and work conditions for certified staff with Aaron Wright.
Good evening. We completed negotiations. Gosh, it's been a little bit now. We met 3 times formally for negotiations with the bargaining unit this year. And what we have tonight for you in your packet is the salary and work conditions for certified staff we'll start with. We added $1,000 to the base salary, which equates with a 2.2% increase on the salary schedule. Step and movement on the salary schedule. We modified the audiologist's column to reflect current market value and adjusted the contents of the range of the related services salary schedule for that position. And we increased longevity schedule payments for those with 37 or more years of service, to which it turns out we have quite a few, one of whom we have one who's got 50 years of service. So it's pretty exciting. We added some positions to the supplemental salary schedule. These are positions that are added throughout the year as we discover we need them, and they weren't previously slated to be on the schedule, so we are allowed to add the positions, and then we must negotiate their placement on the salary line. So that's what these are. And then we made some adjustments to that schedule based on the decisions you all made earlier, I think maybe at the February-March board meeting related to wrestling. We newly defined duty day in the definition section to 8 hours. You'll remember previous to this year, our duty day was 7 3/4 hours. There was a request to add that information to the definition section from the association this year, so we've added that in. We also made a couple modifications to Article 1 of the contract, which clarifies sort of what has been practice, which is that those staff members who work for Central Kansas Cooperative in Education, but who work in one of the other 11 school districts, their duty days and calendar days are frequently different, right, than the Salina calendar or duty day. And we have always had them in the past following the calendar and duty day of the district in which they're assigned, but that's never been memorialized in the agreement. So we did that this year to clarify that point. We also added some language. Again, this is another addition to reflect current practice. When we added the pre-K classrooms a few years ago, we never added the designation of pre-kindergarten teacher to the agreement for the purposes of plan time. So we clarified that they do, in fact, have the same entitlement to plan time as our other licensed K-12 teachers. But so we just needed that to be reflected in the agreement itself. We added some language that clarifies that high school teachers will be teaching a maximum of 6 class periods plus an ELO. And we added some language that also, again, clarifies past practice, which is that if a teacher does not receive a portion of the 245 minutes a week that they're entitled to for plan time, that we will compensate them for that time, which, again, we have been doing already. We just are memorializing it in the agreement at this time. We made some adjustments to the leave section that were necessary because we moved this year to an 8-hour duty day, showing that leave is, instead of calculating leave by days in the agreement and titling the leave by days, we now have identified that that's per 8 hours a day, so that it's clear how many hours are expected per entitlement. We modified the eligibility for leave payout upon resignation or retirement from 15 years to 10 years to coincide with the vesting schedule in the retirement that we adjusted. We, again, have made a modification to the language of blacked out days with the hopes of finding language that makes that clear to people. That is typically a confusing provision in the agreement for those. At least we receive a lot of phone calls about that, so our hope is that the new language will make that abundantly clear now. And we added some language to clarify the approval process for leave related to association business, which is leave that is really up to NEA Salina to use. They are given 7 days worth of leave throughout the year that they can assign for the purposes of being the representative of the bargaining unit throughout the year. And so we sort of memorialized some processes for them on getting approval for the use of that. We increased the employer paid health contribution to $580 a month. We removed some language that was defunct after some changes from last year's negotiated agreement that we just didn't notice to remove. We modified some language that allows more flexibility around placement of new hired educators who come to us from different backgrounds other than potentially the teaching background. People who are participating in the transition to teaching programs many times have advanced degrees that have typically not been eligible for consideration under the agreement because we have such a significant increase in people taking that route to the classroom. We wanted to be able to have some additional flexibility around consideration of those if those hours are directly related to their job responsibilities or beneficial to the district in some way. We added some language clarifying duties that are considered part of the professional responsibilities of the primary contract, and also agreed to add student programs to the list of compensable meetings outside the duty day. And then we made one large adjustment to the provision related to classroom safety in schools. This was important that there be memorialized a commitment to ensuring both the safety of both our students and our educators in the classroom. And it combined two sections and has bolstered our commitment to ensuring that continues moving forward. So with that, unless you have any questions, our recommendation is that you approve the changes to the salary and work conditions for certified staff for the 25-26 school year as presented, understanding that the contract has yet to be ratified by the teachers. So if that is not ratified, you're approving pending that ratification.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the changes to the 2025-2026 salary and work conditions for certified staff as presented.
Thank you, sir. Jim seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay.
And thank you to all of you who negotiated.
And on to 7B, 2025-2026 salaries and benefits for classified, professional, and technical, and substitutes.
So in accordance with the changes that we negotiated with the certified employees, we are now proposing to you similar changes for our classified pro tech and substitute positions. We are recommending an increase of 2.2% added to the base for the classified salary schedule, allowing for step and movement on that schedule, and increasing the employer-paid health insurance contribution to $580 a month for our classified employees. Same request for our professional technical employees who are on a separate salary schedule, but we are recommending a 2.2% increase to that as well. The single step movement and the additional contribution for health insurance. We are Head Start. Teachers have their own salary schedule, are not part of the bargaining unit, and so that recommendation is to provide those employees with the same benefits and increases that were negotiated with the certified bargaining unit. And then we are requesting an increase for substitutes for 2.2% to those hourly rates.
Questions, comments?
I have a question. How much are we paying the substitutes? Will that change with any?
We pay the same rates, and I'm sorry, I don't have the full list of rates in front of me.
Okay.
But what we pay substitutes depends on what they're licensed to do. Okay. So we have classified substitutes, we have emergency substitutes, we have standard substitutes, we have long-term substitutes, we have a substitute food service, we have substitute M&O positions, all of whom are paid at different rates, and I can certainly send those to you. I just don't have them.
That'd be fine.
But with me here. But our intent would be to increase all of those rates by 2.2%.
Okay.
Typically, the rate we pay for the substitute, for a classified substitute, is similar in pay to what a first-year employee in that position would receive. Typically. It's not exactly that, but.
Just a certified substitute that has a degree.
So a standard substitute right now is making $19.07 an hour.
Okay.
I think an E-sub is, I want to say $15.35, $15.55, something around there. And that is all dependent upon what they qualify for, what their education and experience. Sure.
Other questions, comments, motions?
I move that we approve the wage and benefit increases for 2025-2026 school year as presented and allow for single-step movement on salary schedules as presented.
Your second. All seconds.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm going to excuse myself due to a potential conflict of interest.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Now on to 7C, 2025-2026 salaries and benefits for administrators.
Not to sound like a broken record, but we are here to propose the same increases for our administrative employees, adding 2.2% to their base pay, allowing for single-step movement on the salary schedule, and increase their insurance contribution to $580 per month for the eligible employees.
Mr. President, I move that for the 2025-2026 school year, that we approve the salary and benefit changes for administration as presented.
Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
And action item 7D, 2025-2026 Professional Technical Handbook changes.
So as you know, our certified employees are, their terms of condition and employment are covered by the negotiated agreement. For our professional technical employees, we have a professional technical handbook that covers their terms and conditions of employment. And this year, we meet as part of the process for creating these recommendations. Every year, we engage in the meet and confer process, where you identify board members to meet with us and some administrators and representatives of the classified and professional technical employee groups to discuss the terms and conditions of their handbook. This year, as part of that discussion, the items that were raised and discussed, we're bringing to you tonight. In section 4.2, paid holidays, for employees who work less than 260 days a year, meaning less than full year employees, they primarily work the school year schedule. We are changing the total number of paid days during the winter holiday for them by 2. So right now, those employees were receiving 1 holiday payday during the entirety of the time that the district, that schools are not in session. That became, the difficulty there became clear this year when we were off for 15 days or not 15, but close to that, for the winter holiday break, and then came back to 5 snow days. That was a long time for our staff to not receive compensation. So we are recommending the addition of those 2 days for those school year employees. We have also added...
Erin, we're going from 1 to 2.
Yes, I'm sorry. Correct, 2. Yes, my apologies. In section 4 regarding inclement weather, we are adding up to 2 paid inclement weather days for those same school year positions. So if we call school due to weather, they will have the opportunity. These are not days that go into their leave bank. It is not something that would roll over for them and accrue year to year. But if we call school, they would have up to 2 days of paid leave for those 2 days, or the portion of those days that are available. And then in section 533, payment for unused sick leave, we reduced that eligibility requirement for payment upon resignation or retirement from 15 years to 10 years to comply with the other changes that we've made for retirement vesting, as well as the changes in the negotiated agreement this year. So they would become eligible for leave for payout after 10 years of continuous service to the district. And payment for unused sick leave was increased from $50 a day to $75 a day for the professional technical group. These are people with professional degrees who are working in a professional capacity for the district. So that is our recommendation for that group.
Questions, comments, motion?
Mr. President, I move we approve the 2025-2026 Professional Technical Handbook as presented.
Anna Costa making a motion.
Killing it.
Second.
Ian seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. And last on the action agenda, item 7E, 2025-2026 Support Staff Handbook.
So pretty much the same recommendation. This is the support staff handbook, so it governs the terms and conditions of employment for our classified employees. The one difference from the professional technical handbook is that we did not change the rate of payout. The recommendation is, though, to move that payout for, at the time of resignation or retirement, from 15 years down to 10 years. But it also includes the inclement weather days and the one additional holiday break day.
Honor roll.
Here we go.
I move that we approve the 2025-2026 support staff handbook as presented.
Second. Ian seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Now onto our discussion agenda, item 8A, policy review with Aaron Wright.
Hi. See, this is what happens when you're out for surgery, is you come back and your name's on the board agenda 7 times. The law under KSA 725170 no longer requires the board to approve each school's site council. You are familiar, I am sure, with having a long list of site councils that you are approving each year, and the statute no longer has that requirement for your approval. So what we have tonight here for you is just a recommended change to that policy to eliminate the requirement that those come to the board before those councils can be staffed. Everybody knows what a site council is? Okay, sorry, didn't say that part.
I have a question or comment. I'm interested to see who's on them, so even if we don't have to approve them, maybe you could just let us see who's on them.
They are published, so we can provide that information.
That's easy. We can absolutely do that.
Okay. Thank you.
So our
Other questions?
Mr. President, with this being a statutory change, if the board would oblige, I'd move that we move this to the action agenda and approve it as presented this evening.
Second.
Ian seconds. So we'll move this from our discussion agenda to our action agenda and do both readings this evening. Motion and a second. Any further discussion there? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our discussion agenda, item 8B, elementary science adoption. Yes.
Krista Lindenberger is here today, and
Hey.
so she is actually going to speak to this.
Thank you.
Well, good evening.
Welcome.
I'm excited to talk to you all about the science curriculum tonight. It's been a long time coming that we talk about this. I know that my 7 years at Coronado, we never actually had a science curriculum, and this is my 3 years here now at the district office, so I'm excited to have this discussion with all of you tonight. I want to first clarify with all of you that the majority of our science and social studies curriculum is presented to our students by our EPT teachers, which is extra plan time teachers. So just want to clarify to all of you that that's what our curriculum is presented to our students at the elementary level. Also presented in our regular general ed classroom, but majority of it's by our EPT teachers. So just so you have a clear understanding of where that comes from. So, and that is typically the EPT teachers see our kids one time a week for science and one time every other week for social studies. So that's how they get the presentation of science and social studies. So really what brought this to our attention is in March of 2024, KSDE had a recommendation of how much time students should be getting English, math, social studies, science, and that recommendation was 45 minutes a day in the classroom. Well, when we started thinking about that, we're kind of lacking that a little bit in our classrooms. So starting in September of this year, I started meeting with the EPT teachers and making sure that our social studies was aligned with our curriculum and making sure we have a scope and sequence across all of our 8 classrooms and that we're all teaching the same thing simultaneously, because we know we have a tendency of our kids moving from one school to another, and making sure that our alignments and our curriculum is aligned with that. We also started looking at some high-quality resources at that time as well. We also realized that if we're going to get more time in our classroom with our kids, our EP teachers are experts in science. Our classroom teachers spend a majority of our time looking at our reading and our math curriculum, and we really wanted our EP teachers to give some input into what really good science looks like. So we decided we needed to create, alongside our EPT teachers and our classroom teachers, a good understanding for our classroom teachers to present to our students in the classroom, having our experts on board with our classrooms to decide what needs to be presented in the general ed classroom to get that 45 minutes for social studies and science. So starting in February, we had a committee come together with EPT teachers and classroom teachers, and we started to develop what would it look like in the classroom. And basically what that would look like is something simple that the classroom teachers could present to the class in a 30-minute section. We're starting with 30 minutes this year. We don't want to give them all at one time, slowly feeding them that information that they could present in the classroom that would be supporting in the science classroom at that time. We developed it hand in hand, and the classroom teachers really felt like this was something that they could do in the classroom. And a lot of the input we heard is that they were very excited to have this back in their classroom, having the opportunity to teach social studies and to teach science again. The other focus is that we still needed to find more resources. What we have now is not, it is quality, it is good, but we still need more resources to provide in our classroom. So throughout this process, we're looking for something that would be aligned and standard focused. And we came across Amplify, which is something that we found that is on What Works Clearinghouse is highly rated, has really good input, has very, very fine marks to it. It has really structured curriculum, structured alignment. It meets all the NGSS standards. So when I presented that to the EPT teachers, I had 3 of them that really wanted to pilot this and see what it was about. So the last 4 weeks of school, I had a 5th grade teacher, a 4th grade teacher, and a 2nd grade teacher pilot this in their classroom. And I just want to share some of the compliments I got back from them. The pilot program from the teacher said the students experienced great rigor and enthusiasm, which led to more in-depth and higher level discussion. They felt like what they were presenting with this curriculum is what we're doing in our classrooms with our math and our science and our social studies and our reading level. We had kids actually having eyes on text, and we want that with our kids to increase our reading level. The students also reported that they enjoyed the in-depth videos that they got to see with real life video making of, erosion, storms. The other thing the teachers reported on is the kits that comes with this series. At elementary, we felt like we were just kind of hodgepodging things together. This actual kits that come, everything is in the kit. The teacher just has to pull it out and teach it, which is so important, not running to Walmart the night before and getting materials that I need to do the volcano experiment. So I want to iterate to all of you that are following your approval of this adoption, the EB teachers will continue to use the resources we have now, but enhancing the resources with this Amplify adoption. I know I've spent a lot of time talking with all of you about science. I want to iterate to you, it's not that we're not going to continue to enhance social studies. Our 5 social studies standards are really thorough in the fact that you can incorporate them into many subject areas. I'll give you an example of our kindergarten standard. Our kindergarten standard is that all choices have consequences. And that's the standard we teach in social studies at the kindergarten level. And you teach that throughout the year. So when a kindergartner becomes a first grader, that standard goes with them. And in first grade, we teach individuals have rights and responsibilities. So choices have consequences, individuals have rights and responsibilities. Then when they go to second grade, we teach society's experiences, continuity, and change over time. So if you think about those specific social studies standards, you can incorporate that into a great deal of things when you're doing your social emotional lessons. if you're doing circles, if something has happened at recess. So a lot of our social studies curriculum standards can be incorporated into a lot of things. Our reading curriculum has a lot of that in it that teachers can incorporate into their reading time as well. So I don't want you to think that we're not teaching social studies. We are. We just feel like we really needed to put a great emphasis on science this first year. So at this time, I would really like to further discussion with you if you have anything for me.
Krista, I want to go ahead and clarify that the materials that that we're requesting
Yes.
is for the 8 EPT teachers.
That is correct.
And that is to bolster what's happening in that time where it's very dedicated and those teachers are making sure that they are teaching with that resource across all 8 buildings, correct?
That is correct, yes. It is not for the classroom teachers.
Couple of questions I would have. First off, you're wanting to start this in the next school year, correct?
That is correct.
And is there additional training these EPT teachers will need throughout the summer to be able to get that going?
We do have staff development within our budget that we will have that. We'll start with it and then we will continue that on throughout the next year.
Mr. President, or Ms. Zimmerman, I'm sorry.
Okay. How does the classroom teachers know how to carry on what the EPT teachers are doing?
What we'll do is we'll continue with this committee that I spoke of prior to that, is once we get Amplify in, we've already planned for Q1. Once we get Amplify in, we'll take that curriculum and look at that resource and start planning for Q2, Q3, and Q4 using that resource. So we'll plan the lessons for them, the EPT teachers and the other classroom teachers that are on this committee, and we will plan those lessons for them. Doesn't mean they have to use those lessons. It's there for them. So we're trying to eliminate so much planning for the classroom teacher. It's kind of like, here's some lessons, here's an example of what you can teach, here's some vocabulary, here's some Venn diagrams, here's a video you can play, here's your vocabulary cards. It's more like handing it to them so we don't have to have so much time for them planning.
Thank you.
Sure.
So there will be the time for science in every one of the classrooms will be
Yes.
set aside.
All 8 elementary
Okay.
principals have allotted 30 extra minutes in their schedule
Okay.
next year
Okay.
for science.
Okay. Well, I like the hands-on investigations, and it sounds like a pretty neat curriculum.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
This is on our discussion agenda. Again, I would ask if the board would oblige, I'd make a motion to move this to action and approve it so that our staff can get the materials and do some training.
Again, seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
And
Thank
I have a couple of the kits set up in my office. If you'd like to stop by and look at those, they'll be there. So, thank you.
so much. Now on to school board reports and upcoming dates of importance. The next date on our board calendar is Thursday, June 26th, the Salina Adult Education Center graduation at 7 p.m. at South High School. And we'll do board reports. Is there anything?
Thank you. Since the last meeting, I attended both graduations. I attended the CKCIA Board of Control, and where uncertainty at the federal level and a miscalculation of funding at the state level are both making funding challenges even bigger than usual at CKCIA. The Parks and Rec Board started a new Movie Under the Stars program where they started on May 22nd at Dean Evans Stadium. They have a giant inflatable screen, and I didn't get to go to that, but I hope they do it again because it sounded like a fun time. I also, today at Schilling during lunch, I provided music for the kids that came to lunch at Schilling through the Arts and Humanities Commission. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening. I was as well at the Salina South and Central graduation ceremonies at the Tony's Pizza Event Center, and where we nearly reenacted the previous year's weather cycle through the event. And then on the 19th, attended, my family as well, attended the Schilling Elementary Play Day event to support and cheer on our first grade and kindergarten grandchildren. I had to restrain my competitive urges when it came to the sack race and the three-legged race. And then on the 21st of May as well, I attended the Salina Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, and we discussed the very extensive Friends of the River Trail Revival Restoration Project, which is going to include the return of living water to the river with parallel trail project, bridge, and plaza redesigns, as well as an extensive redesign of Lakewood Park to include a hill feature and river connectivity. And that is what I have for this report.
I attended both graduations, the Meet and Confer meeting, and gave Bree her You Make a Difference award.
I attended both graduations.
Had graduations and then foundation meetings. I think something that's important to consider about the foundation, Salina Foundation has really become, they've always been a great partner, but they've really adjusted in the last few years, I'd say, to try to be more flexible and provide additional funding to USD 305 and the ability to recruit and retain teachers and adjust to the environment that's out there. So I'm very appreciative of that and all the support from the community with that.
Thank you, sir. I too attended both graduations. Great day of celebrating our students and 13 years of hard work, both on our students' part and on staff across the district to make that day possible. And a CKCI Board of Control meeting, like Ian said, no funding situation. There's been no clarity brought to any funding situation there. So on to superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to add a little bit on the CKCIE special education funding situation to just update you. Jeff Hayes has been advocating on this, and there was an error in the KDHE's calculation formula for Medicaid reimbursement, and that error occurred from fiscal year 16 through 22, so it was over a 7-year period that this problem occurred. The impact to our cooperative is nearly $580,000. It's like $579,000 something. And KDHE, Jeff did ask if we could have the ability to repay that over the same period of time that the error occurred. We did receive notice, I think it was today, is that correct, Jeff? Today or yesterday, that said that no, we had one of two options. The co-op can either, and remember, this is for all 12 districts in the co-op, they can either repay that from the June Medicaid payment or from the next 4 quarters, but it has to be paid back within 1 year. So essentially, I think the impact to the co-op budget is substantial. And I think it's unfortunate that we're in this situation. Jeff and his team will figure this out, but I do want you to know that we were updated and that we have 1 calendar year to pay back that nearly $580,000. No, the error was not on our part. We certainly would trust that the calculations that the Kansas Department of Health and Environment is using to do that reimbursement is correct. Our audits, we are audited every year. We actually pay for an external audit, and the state audits us, and there were no findings there. So this is a no fault of the cooperative or the way that we've been doing business. This is a statewide issue. And so, Jeff, is there anything that you would add to that? Okay. I just do want to say that I really appreciate, he has been really trying to advocate on our behalf to try to make that, this as, we need to pay back the money, but as painless as possible. So I also want to share with you that I went with Dr. Rector and Kelly Mowbray to the Kansas Board of Regents, and we were asked to come meet about our adult education programming. They affirmed the quality of our program. They were celebrating community partnerships, what Kelly and her team are doing out in business and industry to take programming to them, our completion rate. They just could not say enough positive about the programming that we offer in Salina. There is a desire for from them that we expand our programming to support people that are in Dickinson County. And so there was some discussion about that. And they discussed the transition to the new superintendent and making sure that I had prepared Heath to understand how we support our Salina Adult Education Program, because that's a little bit of an anomaly across the state. In most instances, that program is attached to a post-secondary institution rather than a K-12. And so we have a really nice working relationship with them, and that really allows us to provide education, from birth until death, really. And it appears that our close working partnership is, like I said, a bit of an anomaly, and that really should be a source of pride for you and for Salina Adult Ed and for our community as a whole. So I just felt really proud as I listened to them affirm what she's doing. Then the last thing I wanted to update you on is summer school. We did begin summer school on June 2nd, and you heard with our rising educators, their involvement in that. We have 498 elementary children involved in summer school. That is taking place at Huesner and Schilling, and we have 453 secondary students, and that is taking place at Central. At the secondary, that would include some enrichment kinds of things like medals, driver's ed, ACT prep, and would also include credit recovery. And so many of our teachers and support staff are engaged in that, and I just want to thank them for being willing to do that extra to make sure that we're meeting students' needs.
Thank you. We did remove our executive sessions from our agenda, so that is the end of our agenda. I did make a promise to Lynn that I wouldn't make a whole to-do about this, but it is tough not to mention that this was our last meeting with Superintendent Lynn Exline, and I just want to say thank you for 30-plus years of support to not only the students of this community, but staff in the community as a whole. So,
thank you for the opportunity.
yes. That is the end of our agenda. We have a record-setting meeting time tonight.
I move we adjourn.
And a second?
I second.
Multiple seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned. Thanks for joining us this evening.